A lot of waters. I see a lot of waters. Whew, that means we're each holding an element.
Mhm. Oh,
Wow. Okay. I assume they're all going to, it looks like we're moving through the elements, each of us. So that would be earth, air, fire, water, and ether. And it looks like collectively we're going to be moving and shifting and moving through each of these, each of us, instead of stabilizing in one. So you guys ready for that? That's a big one. Ooh, I'm
so,
like sweating.
so Chaz, we're kind of like we're linked and we're flowing, going through all of them.
Yep,
Fantastic,
yep.
fantastic,
That's what I'm seeing.
wonderful, wonderful.
Okay.
No,
And
sorry.
Alex just chimed in and said, I give permission for anything in the she may be able to step in with us physically soon, but she's like a multidimensional like warrior. She's always everywhere. So cool. Okay, you guys ready to go live?
Yeah,
Okay.
just want to start. I saw your drum there, Kat. Ah.
Welcome everybody as we start bringing people into our space. So beautiful to be here. We have lots of things that are going to come up, and there are many of us gathered here today in anchored in our divine feminine, as well as our divine masculine. Each of us here are representing ourselves in unity and in oneness of all that is. But we're specifically here to talk about, well, anything that comes up, but talk about what we have noticed, each of us being able to see multidimensionally in many different facets, from many different perspectives, and how that translates to what we see in the 3D, and how things are going to start changing with the type of building that that we have been experiencing and stepping into in this planet. And so I'm Chastity, and there may be more joining us. I'm here to hold the light so that you may find your way. That's kind of my slogan. I'm not a big titles person. Otherwise, if we did titles, I mean, I don't know, what am I not? What are we not? So I'm just going to hand it over to. I did a show recently live with Susan and Sammy, and so I'm going to have Susan introduce herself, and we'll just kind of go around and just quickly say, "Hey, here, who are you? Who am I? Who are we?"
Okay, thanks, Chastity. Yeah, I'm Susan Oros. Some of you know that I work with my daughter, who is considered to be nonverbal or beyond verbal, diagnosed with autism on this plane, but really an incredible soul that has gone way out into the cosmos, and working here with the collective and really with all the other starseeds, indigos, light workers on the planet to end the 3D paradigm so that we can step into really creating the new Earth, the 5D Earth and above. So we're honored to be able to come here today and talk to everyone and some of these new friends that I recently acquired. Really loving being part of a kind of a bigger group and feeling embraced by all of you. So thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. I just am so tickled. Kat?
Oh, describing myself is definitely something that's always been a bit of a challenge, I guess. I would definitely say that I'm not from around these parts. At least that's the way I felt coming into this world. That things that I remembered and then things that I experienced didn't seem to match. My journey has definitely taken me through a lot of different places, studying metaphysical and esoteric subjects in order to have a better understanding of what this world is, what is around this world, and who is in this world, in order to help bring more of the God energies, the Sophianic wisdom here. Thanks, Chastity, for putting this together.
Thank you, Kat. My beautiful sound alchemist, Mary.
Hello, that is my name for now. And as I was just playing here with my drum, what came to me was that I'm on a mission that is my little Mary's mission. It's that grand vision, grandest vision, most beautiful, that she knows can be real, and I'm with her. I'm on her team. So, yeah. Thank you all for being here, and thank you, Chaz, for this, and to everybody who's watching. I hope that this lifts your heart and brings you joy.
Yeah. Dr. Stefanie.
Hello, everybody. So I'm sick, so I'm going to remain off camera for today, and I apologize about my voice. But my special mission here is to help bring in the Christic Sophianic templating, and the way God has gifted me is through writing, and I hope that through the writing that comes through me, it helps people remember and awaken to their special mission as well. We're all here together weaving, in these beautiful energies, and it's through our weaving that we build a future. So I am beyond humbled and grateful and proud to be a part of this Grilled Circle. I love and admire each and every one of you beautiful souls, and I have a deep bow for each of you in the deepest part of my soul. And I'm so grateful to be awakening into this Sophianic wisdom with you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, this is us. There are more of us that have gathered, and we chat close to daily, and have created some amazing friendships through memories that we didn't remember we had, and awakened some really interesting and fascinating things that I'm sure at some point, we'll start sharing and bringing out into the awareness. But today we want to talk a little bit about what the number 22 is. What is a master builder? How distorted has our numerical system been? And how does that violate natural laws? What are natural laws? What have we been so far away from, and what are we coming back to? We were chatting before we came on about how it's easy for us to be able to say it's so beautiful. We can't imagine how beautiful it is. We see all these changes happening, and we see star systems aligning, and we see timelines opening up. And then there's a bunch of people still saying, I don't understand. I don't see that stuff, and I don't get it. It's a big mess down here. And things happen in a way that they always happen in the higher realms. By the time something gets to your body and your body is hurting, it's distorted. And it's distorted because we've ignored it, because we haven't understood how to see it through our eyes, because our eyes have been closed. And our eyes are our connection to God and to source, to divine wisdom, and divine feminine wisdom specifically. When we talk about Sophianic energies, Sophia means wisdom. That's what it is. It's not some God being that comes out of the sky or comes down upon a cloud. This is the Sophianic wisdom. And it's a journey that we take to come back home, to come back into the knowledge and into the wisdom. And everything has gone against this that we have through many lifetimes, but just for simplicity's sake, let's just say this one that we live right now. I'm only going to be 48 years old, and I'm just going to say for 48 years, it's been really freaking challenging, right? And so for all of us in this life right now, it's been really challenging, and that's because our laws of nature have been violated. Our natural laws have been violated, and those are the laws of God. This isn't about a religious teaching or anything like that, but our wisdom, our gnosis, our connection to source has been usurped, and we're anchoring these energies and frequencies back in. And what these builder numbers do is they open up a gateway to consciousness. It starts to put right the mathematical sequences and concepts that are organic to our template. So our spirit and our soul, our template that we hold as an angelic human being. And so there are some of us that come here to be able to bring those frequencies down for humanity, so we can all live in this divine energy, in this divine essence. And we all do that just a little bit different. So there's so many things to talk about when we bring this up. I don't know even where to start. Where do you guys want to start with this? There's so much. We can start with what is the Sophia. We can start with taking back our republic, taking back the natural laws. So, and we're happy to take questions as well from people.
I think if we look at just the number 22 itself, if you look at the tarot, the number 22 is a major arcana card. It's the world. And I don't have the card with me, but if you look at the image in that card, it's I guess you would call it a hermaphroditic figure that's usually naked, enclosed in some kind of a circular structure. And usually the world is a time of harmony. There's opportunities coming forward. It's talking about balance. There's just a whole lot of stuff that come in with the world card that, the saying, the world is your oyster, and this card sort of represents this big opportunity that you have in front of you. And then when you also look at this hermaphroditic figure, you could look at it a couple ways, but I choose to look at it that it's signifying the balance within humanity, the male aspect, the sacred male balancing with that divine sacred feminine. And it's just coming out in a figure that physically looks like both sexes. That can also be taken the other way when you have the talking about the Baphomet program and things like that. But that's potentially, a good launching pad, just looking at what 22 is, how historically we viewed the number 22 and what does the world mean. That could be a really good start for the conversation.
Well, I have some insights that the autists tell me about the number 2. This is a couple of years ago, they described that the 2 is the sort of the original mother and the original father. And so together, the number 2 represents actually prime creator, out of source. And so, yeah, it represents in some way duality, but it's also about balance, that we need the 2 aspects. The Sophia consciousness is usually associated with a mother or a feminine aspect, but we're all both masculine and feminine, and this is a sort of a basis for our creation, here. And it's also interesting, and I just realized this morning that 2022 is 3 2s, and they had also shown me that 2 to the 3rd power, so 2 cubed, which is 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. And so 8 is considered to be an exponential number. Exponential meaning that at some point everything just takes off. And it feels like this year is about that. So we're seeing how fast things are moving, the breakdowns are moving, the narratives. So there's an acceleration of the breakdown of the old 3D world, but now there's also going to be an acceleration of what we can co-create. And I was having a conversation with a friend yesterday, and so Sammy showed us about the 2022, since that alignment on 2/22/2022, that was a very, very major portal that really opened up an access point that we haven't been able to access this way, in such a direct way, to let's say the formless nature of source, before even any creation comes out of it. And so since then, we're getting all these streams of new information, new codes, but particularly every human soul on the planet is getting downloaded with their unique codes, their unique light language information from source. And so every time now that we're hitting these dates, and I'm not an astrologer, I'm not a numerologist, but it is really interesting to look at it this way, that every time that those numbers, like the month and the date, so 2/22 adds up to a 6. So anytime those dates lined up like that 222, like 3-3, you know, because it's a 6 in 2022, and then there was 321, which was yesterday. That aligns with the equinox. And the other one was, the next one coming up would be 4-2. So that's a 6 again. And the day before, on April 1st, is actually a new moon. I had to go look at it. So we're going to get another stream of this information. And then so there's like a 5-1. And again, it was like the day before or so is another new moon. So I think 5-10 is going to be sort of the last one for a while. When you look at the dates, 5-10, which is a 5 plus a 1. And 10 usually is associated with kind of a new beginning. So it's interesting to kind of look at it from that perspective. So even though it looks scary that things are breaking down, and they have to break down, a lot of people know that we can't continue on like this, because like Chastity was saying, the laws of nature, you know, there's been man's laws and then there's been God's laws, and somehow they really haven't been in alignment for various reasons. But now it's coming to that point where we, our laws, man's laws in our human physical form, are going to be matching God's laws. And in order to do that, we have to break down old systems. And what these soul codes mean to come in is that we're being called to really be soul beings, that our body is a vessel to inhabit a soul. And the soul codes means that people will begin to organically, instinctively, intuitively know what they need to do. So even though things are breaking down, people will know what to do. And as souls, then we're going to operate on compassion. You know, is it going to look ugly? Yeah, there's going to be pieces where it looks ugly, people who are going to just mentally and emotionally fracture, but simultaneously, we will be called, each of us will be called to know what to do. And I think we're already kind of seeing that. The people who have been calling out the lies over the last 2 years of scientists and doctors and things, you know, they're playing their part. Have stood up based on what their soul is calling them to do. And I feel like even this trucker movement that has been going on, that they're being called, inspired, where it's such a deep inner knowing that you can't not do it. And that's what seems to be happening here over the next, you know, few months.
Yeah.
So
I've never seen so many. Go ahead, Mary.
Thank you. What Susan was saying about knowing what you need to do. Sometimes you don't know what you need to do you? But it just turns up. Like for me today, I want to share this thing with everybody. I have a history of, I've been a performer for quite a few years, and but there was something about going live that I found really, really difficult. Really didn't want to go there, and I didn't meditate on it, but I wanted to know why. And the word voyeurism came into my mind, and when I looked it up, I was looking it up for the spelling more than anything, just to make sure I got that right. But it was immediately, I could see the connection with the sexual misery program. And if that's new to anybody, you'll find it on Lisa Renee's Ascension Glossary, on her website there. Because it's voyeurism in it's not just peeping Tom. There's no it's nasty, and when I came in, so I've brought that with me. That's just this much, this tiny bit that I have brought into this working, this gathering, this working, to break it down. And if we're building and being the master builders that we are, it has to go and build something of just, well, divine respect. How about that? Divine respect, self-respect, and respect for others. That's my I'm just imagining, because I'm an artisan as well, and I'm imagining all these beautiful glazed tiles all going up with Susan's light language drawn on it, and all going up on this building, on this new structure. So that, and just that thing of just, you don't need to know. You just don't need to know. We can spend, I speak from experience, from my own personal experience here, forever looking, but if you just let go, it will come. It will find you. It will find you. Finished.
Oh. Go ahead, Alexandra.
Hey guys, see if I know how to put my hand down. Okay, hey, it's really interesting. Isn't it always interesting? You know, the things that we talk about, and like we just have all these different little puzzle pieces. I have like two things that I wanted to bring up. One, what Mary was saying about voyeurism. It's so interesting because last night, who knows what sparked it, but I was thinking about this whole idea of like the male versus female gaze, how you know, like especially some women can become upset if men are even looking at them. You know, there's no action taken, but looking at them. And I was like, you know, looking at the energetics of it and realizing that that uncomfortable feeling went away for me as I became more sovereign and in control of my energy. And, you know, while a person is making you feel uncomfortable just by looking at you, there's an energetic discomfort happening through some sort of energetic inappropriateness, right? That's being allowed. And so if you're, you know, feeling that, it's something to definitely tune into your energy and see sort of what support you need for yourself, you know, what healing needs to be done there, how to become more sovereign in that. So it's just really interesting, you know, to see that I had that thought yesterday as I was like randomly daydreaming in my kitchen. And then, you know, it's sort of partnering with this really profound experience that Mary is sharing. But as I joined this thing, I just felt called to say that to anyone watching who might look at us like we know things, or, you know, please don't put us on any sort of pedestals or anything, because I realized it's, oh, sorry, I just kicked the desk. I realized it's so amazing that like we're all here just sharing our experiences and our thoughts. And I want that to be inspiring to everyone, that you have thoughts and experiences and thoughts on those experiences that are of value to people. And communicating and sharing is really important right now, because like you guys were saying, you know, that line was drawn in the sand, Susan. I have to go. So that's my thought.
Yes, thank you. The line was drawn in the sand, and here we are ready to build. Kat?
You know, Mary, when you brought that up, I remember having that kind of dialogue just via chat with Chastity about feeling comfortable in front of the camera. It's definitely something that's not easy for me, and so I brought my gourd to do some rattling while we're speaking. The funny thing is, a friend of mine introduced me to this song over the weekend, which is called ABCDEFU. And it's all about this woman talking about F this, F that, you know, basically coming into her power and not giving a damn about what other people think. And, you know, being over 50, I always heard that women over 50 don't give a hooey about what other people think. And I'm, still waiting for it. But when this was proposed by Chastity and Susan, they made some excellent points about us coming forward and saying basically a big F you to the programs that are stopping us or prohibiting us from really fulfilling all the little dark corners and the light corners of the work and the missions that we've come here to do. I'll share that song later on in the group if you want to hear it, but it had a really good message, and it was really very, very strengthening to listen to somebody in a musical form just basically say the things that I needed to hear, at least.
Love that. I love that this is coming up in the terms of how anyone goes from numbers to sex is like really beyond is like really beyond comprehension. But when we look at how everything is and what the balance of nature is, and we talk about the Susan, I think you were saying something about the vibration. You start talking about the duality being the oneness, and Kat bringing in the world and the hermaphroditic being. And it reminds me of how it's our job to integrate that polarity, how to bring in those pieces. And it's like we feel like we've been split in half, like literally split in half. And it is like, what sews that back together? How do we put those pieces back together and not just be like a torn in half, sewn together human? And not even understanding that what that union means. What is a harrogamic union? What is I learned something, and I learned something about our sovereignty the other day. I went to a really great gathering with Stefanie the other day, and we were learning about like plots, and I forget what it is, like the land, and how you actually survey the land, like the land, like your property land, and bounds, meets and bounds. And basically what happens is you come in with this actual template. Okay, let's just picture it as like a piece of land. You come in with this actual template, and then what happens is we all of the sudden sign over that template. And then what they do is they draw a map over the top of our template, stick it over the top. All of a sudden our meets and bounds, they're still there, but they just put their template over the top and said, well, now you're lot 25 and you're worth X amount of dollars. And it's like, how do you get that template off? And that's what reminds me of the confusion between the Baphomet programming, which is the anti-harrogamic union, and our actual harrogamic union. And so it's really like, how do we peel that part off of humanity? How do we peel that part off of the planet and allow that third energy piece, that number 3 that you talk about, Susan, to light that flame inside? And then all of a sudden the fire, the flame, the wisdom, all of a sudden is, we don't need to be sewn together anymore, because we are now bound together in that unity piece. That's how I see it. And I know that doesn't really have anything to do with the property piece, but kind of it does, because it's, shows us in real time how our property, ourselves, our lives have been taken from us. And how do we just peel that off and take it back? Go ahead, Mary.
I was because I'm so pragmatic, I have my pragmatic moments, let's put it that way. And when you're talking about these two, as you're talking, and we're talking about blueprints and these layers, it's like when you have something very fine, like gold leaf or whatever it is, tissue, you blow between it to separate it. And it's like, I'll have the breath of God, I'll have that breath come and separate the lies from the truth. And then from my original template, from then I can rise up, I can take my form from that, because I don't have that restriction pushing me down. That's how I was seeing it.
Bindings, you know, it makes me think about how we're all kind of contracted into we're bound to some type of contract, and how do we get out of those contracts? And is it our job, or can we help others get out of their contracts? Do we change the contract? Do we go to, wouldn't it just be beautiful? I was talking to a friend the other day that, wouldn't it just be beautiful to get to the space of there is no architecture to build, that we are just really, truly free. And, you know, we get to live in that space of absolute freedom and awareness. And we can take form or not take form. And no one is telling you how to do it or what to do. We go back to the natural laws of, look, just don't hurt anybody. Like, you know, it's unfortunate that at some point we had to put these laws in because some people didn't understand, hey, it's not okay to kill people. Oh, it's not? Yeah, no, maybe you didn't get the memo when you were here. So like, I understand we have to have some boundaries. It reminds me of the tombstone when what's his name says, we've got to have some law. So, but and I forget the guy, he's got the thick mustache. It wasn't the other one. It was Sam Elliott. Sam Elliott says, we've got to have some law. And that is really, I see the bringing back of God's law, because that is some law. That is the law. That is the essence of, hey, you don't hurt me, I won't hurt you. You do you, I'll do me. And, you know, we all own our own land. That is our body. And there is like so much land on this planet that there's no overpopulation problem. They just cram us into these little corners, and they'd love to cram us into smaller little corners. And it's time for us to just say, maybe you should start beating your drum now, Mary. No more, right?
Wow.
Like it's time to release the chains and drop the bindings and, you know, become the travelers that we truly are.
Yeah. Shall we just take like a couple of minutes and have a you know, have a little sounding session?
Yes, and maybe show Susan's beautiful picture at this point.
Yes, that sounds lovely. We've all got something. We've got our voices. We don't have anything else to bing or bomb.
And don't worry, nobody will hear me sing.
Me neither. So this image is a Syrian dragon language, and it came through where I just started drawing during that time of the Syrian Gateway, which was around January 5th, 2022. And I wasn't really sure what it was for, but I came across it yesterday, and it spoke to me that it is to assist in bringing coherence and sort of unpack the light language that people are receiving, you know, through the soul, all the soul downloads, let's say, and it's your, you know, people's unique soul blueprint, your unique blueprint, and what you're gifted to be able to do, and what you're able to help in co-creating the new earth. So we'll just take a moment and you can just allow Mary to produce some sounds for us.
I just want to bring this bowl forward. Can Susan, perhaps you would join in as well with your creation in this? Everybody, just it's not
Just some
me.
toning or light language.
Whatever, anything.
Okay.
Whatever.
All right. Yeah, I don't sing, but I can. I do just spontaneously do singing or toning and light language. So if everybody just wants to sit, if you're watching in the audience and really settle into your, not just your heart, but your pelvis, allowing that breath from the one source God, the all that is, that breathe life into you, through that central vertical channel. And in this moment, you are perfect as you are. Any emotions or fears, trepidations, it's okay to have those feelings or sensations, because we have not been taught to feel safe. We have been taught to be defensive. And it's defensiveness and protecting our vulnerability, our innocence, our compassion as human souls, that has led to, let's say, wars and fighting over resources. And I can just feel humanity. We're so tired of fighting. We're so tired of feeling like we have to, assert our right over our bodies. That self-preservation is somehow bad or wrong. Because we know as souls that when we know that we are safe and we have the abundance that we need to maintain these God sovereign bodies, that we are innately and organically compassionate. We offer what we have as in our gifts freely, openly, and that we exchange out of respect and honor for that soul's gift that they're here bringing to the planet. And this is the true oneness, and what we're being inspired to now build this platform of this knowing that it's all our uniqueness that will really build an organic and true one world order, because we will be operating from our souls and expressing compassion and grace and the totality of abundance that naturally flows through us and also emanates from the planet. That all the plants and animals know this intrinsically. And it's from this state that we will truly create the true one world order that is in alignment with all of God's laws. God's laws are not meant to be punishing, but is an order of the cosmos, so that all energy can flow. The interchange with God's source is open and organic. These are the true laws of the cosmos. So it's time to even dissipate the idea of what a law means or what order means. Because if it was not for these laws, you would not be able to even manifest in a physical body. There are laws of alchemy, laws of structure that enables you to have this experience as a God source being. Wow, 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 koro, 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 oh, oh,
They build as they walk between the spaces and places, as they surround the heart with light, as they open their wisdom to the eternal creation of God's source, the suns. It's beautiful. Some people haven't heard of universal laws, and this is what we're here to bring back. This is why we're here. People say, what is my mission? What is my purpose? Our purpose is to anchor in universal laws. We understand that there are specific laws that we bring here and that we live by. And those are really very simple: law of compassion, law of intent, law of consent to authority, and law of structure. My favorite one is the law of structure. I love building things. I think that it is I think that it is extremely important to understand and learn what we're bringing forth. And we bring that forth with compassion. We bring that forth with integrity and with intention. And we bring that in with authority, our authority, which is then God's authority. So we stand as witnesses. Those are all of the laws, right, combined into one little tiny compassionate box, into one standard and sacredness. The drawing here is really beautiful to me because you can feel it moving and vibrating, not just through the physical body, but this picture I can see moving through the spine, as well as moving out into the soul body, moving through the spine of the soul body, and actually moving through the natal structures to activate and move through the spirit body. And so, when we look at these are just the basics of putting together who we are. It's our job to clear the physical body so we can get the soul into the body, be single soul occupied under your own authority. And once the soul is anchored into the physical body, this is really what we start talking about when we're talking about ascension. It's not you ascending up into the realms, it's you bringing these realms, these ascended realms, into your physicality. So we have to clear the physical body, which means healing the body of traumas. So we have to go in and heal the soul from trauma, heal the spirit then with trauma, and the soul and spirit are separate things. Yeah.
What I saw a few days ago, before Susan posted this image, really seems to correlate with this image. When I see this, I see Stargate. That also brings to mind the Tarot 22 with the figure standing in a circular structure, which could also be the Stargate progression of humanity. But when you're talking about healing, Chastity, what I had seen in a vision a few days ago was the human form within a structure, but it was egg-shaped. And within this structure, there was a navy blue type of another structure at the feet. And then the codes from the structure, which was actually egg-shaped, were going into the form. And the feelings that I was receiving was that this was of a healing or a rebalancing or a recoding to heal a lot of the damage that has gone on in the human form, at least through the various earth walks that humanity has had since we were either dropped off here, or whether, you know, we evolved here from something else. But as I looked more at this form, please excuse my voice, I was starting to see it from the perspective of the form laying inside of this, and that this structure was enveloping. And you know, it does, yeah, it's moving, it's flowing, it's weaving, and it's very incredible how this is being brought to us. You know, we're experiencing these energies, these architectures that we as a human race, we have not encountered before. This is all brand new, but it's also all extremely familiar.
Isn't that amazing? That it's brand new, yet not new at all. And it's to tie into this, it's like we're remembering, and all of the sudden, it's almost like you clear like that last big piece, and all of a sudden, all of this information just starts dropping in, and it's like mind blown. I don't know if you call that like a higher self walk-in or what it is, but it's like all of a sudden this knowledge comes to you, your body feels completely different, and it's like, wow. And I've always been hearing over the years, the past few years, is that we're going to be connecting that which we knew. We're bringing back the old structures, the old organic structures. We're just breathing life into them, and that's with the breath of us, of our God selves, of humanity, anchoring this in. I think you were seeing the same colors that Susan was seeing too, Alexandra.
Hey, I want to say that I totally love, I put it in a comment on Facebook, but I love how like Chastity has the horns behind her. She's like full Taurus embodiment right there. Love that.
I went from a double Gemini to a double Taurus. You know that, right? So,
No, what Kat was saying about the structures, it's so interesting because in session work and healing work, I've been seeing this approach of, instead of, you know, like imagine that you have junk in your field, right? Instead of sort of taking that third person perspective and plucking things off of yourself or clearing things off of yourself, it's this inward like purging light almost, that if you change your inner structure, these things will naturally be out of you and repelled. So these new structures we have coming online are just like so amazing. And you know, speaking to anyone who's watching this, that you know, when you're talking about like the downloads and the higher self walk-in, you know, when I was a COVID survivor, I like my consciousness was pulled out of my body. The majority of it was, and it was very difficult to it was very uncomfortable, but it's been a year now that it's really been coming back in very strongly. And it's so crazy because like I know that I've been me this whole time, but it feels like a walk-in, because who I have come back as, I don't even call it coming back, because it just feels like I'm completely new. Like that it's so amazing. But you know, when we have these downloads, I think people, it can be hard to understand like what that looks like to them. You know, we're so used to like talking about memories, past life memories, but you know, to a human, memories are like, I remember sitting down and having a cup of coffee with my friend last week, you know, and I remember that the wind was blowing, and I remember that the flavor of the coffee was, you know, whatever it was. And I can see it and I can feel it because it happened on the timeline, right? And so when we have these like extraterrestrial, intergalactic, interdimensional memories coming in, it doesn't always feel like that. It can just feel like this new wave of emotions or this new wave of understanding. You know, someone could ask you a question, it could be something philosophical, and you could just sort of know the answer to it and not understand why. Me and my environmentally conscious lighting over here. Motion sensors shutting the lights out on me every 2 minutes. Yeah, I think I was basically wrapping up my thoughts there.
Perry is listening to us today, and he writes, it's the Oval Office in the egg of life as well. These messages also come to me. That's so curious because so many of us miss that there's an exopolitical agenda to our everything. It's part of that thing that lays over. And isn't that fascinating that, you know, we're all starting to be able to really see what this represents. The Oval Office representing the same egg Kat is talking about, this egg of humanity. I mean, you know, it's like you could sit here and just go mind blown all day long, right? Just incredible to me. How you doing over there, Stefanie? I know you're not feeling well.
I'm sorry. I do have one little thought, but I apologize. I'll be more perky next time. My one thought here is that it really is a marriage of the two hands, which is the spiritual aspect of this element of freedom and sovereignty, as it marries and interfaces with the exopolitical, geopolitical, you know, global, national, down to the individual sense of sovereignty. And part of this consciousness war is based on, once we see the constructive fraud of how they have usurped God in our national identities of our all caps name, once we see that fraud, it dissipates. And that's when the templating is allowed to come in, and we are, you know, we can embody it then. And it's when more and more and more of us are able to truly embody this sovereignty. And it is a growing, you know, living organism in and of itself as well. It will change the face of this globe. It's really about understanding how we're sovereign in terms, not in terms of a global sense, in terms of I am God, I am sovereign, I am free, but really in how they constructed the fraud to overtake our identities as we are labeled citizens, and how we participate in a community that they have usurped, a natural organic community, and created these, you know, nation states, city of, state of, country of. And once you see that word of, we all know that that is a corporate franchise. It's businesses posing as government. And once we all collectively see the fundamental fraud of that, the energies are going to be allowed to be released and take hold in us in ways that we've never seen on this planet before. And that's the moment of real change.
Thank you for that. Thank you. That is absolutely, takes us to a whole new level of sovereignty. That, when I was saying, how, ladies, do we remove their overlaid, their Baphomet templing, their geopolitical agendas, their access to tying us into their Oval Office, these kinds of things. When we understand how to take back our corporation that they created and become our own true sovereign being, that's a whole nother level of downloads, so to speak, of sovereignty and ways to move forward. So, and ways to anchor new things. This is how, you know, we're starting to take those vibrational shifts, all the planetary shifts, the downloads, the stargates, everything lines up and starts locking in, and it looks beautiful up here, right? But it's like, how do we get that beauty down here? Well, there is going to be a process, and it's not just about sitting and blowing rainbows out our noses. And, like we actually have work to do here to clean up, because we're seeing structures fall apart. We're seeing people go crazy. We're seeing, there's just so much that goes into the fracturing of humanity, and that is going to go into more fracturing. Think about all these people that are dropping their bodies. And it's not just the people that have made decisions, right? It's other people who have chosen to leave the planet at this time, which is, they're going to be able to assist humanity in other ways. But there is going to be a big cleanup, and there is going to have to be a restructuring. And, I just posted something that the talking head of our country in the United States posted. And, it was mentioned that there was an NWO, a new world order, and that humanity was just going to have to deal with that. And I was like, boy, there is a new humanity. I'll tell you what, brother, you got another thing coming. Because, when you start waking up the people that truly have lived as sovereigns and have really, made that part of their mission, and you start showing people that now it's time for them they have to come out and like do the big lion roar. I'm not talking about patriots, although there is a big patriot movement. And I do have a lot to say about that, because that can be in the cube technology. We've been seeing some issues with the patriot movement. So, you don't just go out there and listen to everybody, including myself or any of us, but, really dig down deep inside your heart and learn how to feel what is organic and what is inorganic, because there's a lot that they have attached us to, and that programming is, in my opinion, from my witnessing in session work, Patriot programming is real, and it's connected to the red and yellow cube technology. So, yeah, go ahead. Feel free, you guys, to just jump in. You don't have to wait for me to.
I like to politely raise my hand. I try and teach my students that. Doesn't work, but of course I've it's left me. I was going to talk about, like embodying this, right? Because, when you talk about such massive change and like the earth drama playing out in our media of so much talk, whether it's vocal or written or recorded, about how things are going to be, what changes are being made, but then you turn to your neighbor and nobody's actually doing it, and you realize it's just like a little stage going on. Like, what does that real change look like? Like what you're talking about, the sovereign coming through, right? And it can be so easy to get, kind of caught up in the earth conditioning of like, how do I be active with this? Like, what does activism for this cause look like? Because isn't that a theme and a narrative we see so much? And for me, it's like you really connect in with your mission, like finding your mission line. That's the word that like I've been given a lot lately, is like mission line. And it's basically your connection to source, right? So your connection to source, the highest form of love, that's it. And how do you move from that in everything? And since everything is changing so quickly, like the practice is shifting from routine to tuning into that in everything that you do. And I am of the practice of, even when I go to the grocery store, I let that mission, right, like source, like that connection, do my grocery shopping for me, like, because it's just a practice of, I think we get so used to being in a human routine, we forget to sort of check in. So if, like, that's what I've switched into, is practicing moving from that place in everything I do.
Move back in.
Sorry, even if it's like, that's probably why I'm not getting my laundry done. I just don't think it's in my mission to fold laundry. I just let it pile up in the corner, But it's really been amazing because like I don't analyze my actions ever. I don't like look back on things and really have to, not in a negative way or an unhealthy way, but I don't really have to do a lot of reflection like that because I'm tuning in the moment like that. So I think that's probably my favorite. But it's been so nice being with you guys here. I mean, I'll stick around, but I'll be quiet for now.
I mean, I could talk people's ears off, but I'm open to just having more kickback in the.
I was feeling like we get because there's so much going on, and externally and internally, we forget kind of what, well, I'm almost, but I won't because I'll own these words. We forget what turns us on. We forget, because we were talking about sexual misery earlier, and it's like, no, these are my words. It's what floats your boat, what draws your curtain, what floats your boat. Things that we, if we just need to get out of our heads and dance, kick up some dirt, go down to the beach and kick up some sand. It's a fantastic feeling. And just for a while, just for a short while, you are divorced from what was, taking up so much of your synaptic connection firings, just to change it into something else. Bang a drum, spread some beads, I don't know, prune your rose tree or something. Just kick up some dirt. That's just the best. It's just the best.
I love that. I'm just having images right now. Also, talking about creativity and connecting into our creative pieces. There's a lot happening in the way of the chakra system changing. Some of us faster than others. Some of us have chakras opening up that others may not have open up, and that's okay too. But the system in our bodies is shifting and changing so much. And one of the things that I've noticed is the creative chakra, having been bound in heaviness or darkness for so long, is moving up into the lighter forms, moving up into a higher frequency. And I find it most curious because I'm curious to see what you guys have to say. But as it moves up in through this darkness, it's like all of these little grotesque thoughts and ideas and creatures, they're all coming out. And it's almost like I don't know if we pulled a seal off of the old second chakra or what's happening, but it's like all of humanity's creation, and I mean all of it. It's like the Baphomet fields came alive in 3D, if you're feeling me. Anybody feeling this? Because it's like, ew, like everywhere you step, it's like, oh, I'm stepping in this slimy, gross stuff. How do I get out of it? And it's even confusing, like the sensations of the beautiful feeling of the sand between your toes. And it's creating some confusion with what actually feels good and what is creativity anymore, and all this creepy stuff. Ugh.
No, I think that's a good thing to point out, because it can sometimes feel like, oh, am I going backwards? I've done all this work, I've done all these clearings, and now there's all this ugliness, that comes up. And I think it's important to look at it as possibly a clearing and a healing, that is taking place within you, because we are literally connected to dimensions through our chakra system. And that's one thing the kids, the autists, have said for the last couple of years, that the second dimension, which we connect to through our sacral, is becoming an anti-particle dimension, and not anti-particle as in bad, but it's connecting into the cosmos, let's say, in a very different way, so that we can embody the soul in a completely different way. And with that, we are matter, we are made out of matter. And if the earth has had all this, junk, let's say, that's been embedded in it, and it's literally in our bodies because we are made of the earth matter, then of course those are all being released. And I agree. I've seen, like, what is this devilish looking creature? That feels like it's coming out of my in between space between the root and the sacral, because I think we're discovering that there's been a lot of garbage, let's say, that's been hidden in there. So I think that's a really important point to bring up, that may not be our thoughts. It's just what's clearing out of the earth, and possibly our own bodies as well, because we know that even in matter there's been intentions and thoughts that have been, let's say, seated in the very matter. I know when Sammy's been embodying, I think I mentioned it before, but as she was, on a process of embodying, we hit this barrier, and the barrier was like, oh, but I'm ugly, I'm dirty, the human is a dirty form, all these scripts that we've been handed that makes us keep on feeling bad about ourselves, having low self-esteem and having negative thought patterns, that if it's really woven intricately into the very matter, then it's hard to potentially release ourselves from. But all that is much easier to clear now. So I think, to your point, Chastity, it's an important piece to bring up for people, that that could be why you're having these recurring thoughts again. It's clearing, it's healing. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. Yeah. Yeah.
So somebody else?
Yeah,
Oh,
Kat.
sorry. Go ahead, Susan.
Oh no, I'm done.
Okay. Listening to both of you talk just brought up an image in memory, actually. When I was growing up, where I was growing up, we played in the bush. And when you got older and you got your driver's license, then you drove in the bush. And part of driving in the bush was driving over ruts. And we would have cars initially, or trucks did initially have these, what we call tabernacle bars. I don't know if I can say tabernacle on the YouTube, but I just did. Anyways, it was those handles to hold on to. And at least that stopped you from smacking against the windshield, or smacking against the side of the door, or the driver beside you if you weren't driving. And Chastity, when you mentioned about how it feels gooey right now, and it does, when as a starseed, and those that even don't recognize that they're a starseed, they're driving through this bush without these bars that they can hold on to, and we're clearing, and they don't really know what's going on. And sometimes, I can say I don't always know what's going on either with the stuff that's clearing and what I'm seeing, and I'm looking for that bar to hold on to, and I think I've gone through enough in my journey that I can know where to hold on to. But I'm trying to feel also and hold compassion for those that are still looking for that tabernacle bar to hold on to as they're going through this bush of this bombardment of energies. And Mary said something really important about dancing or finding your joy, acknowledging your inner child. That's like a big component, I think, at this time, to be able to accept the downloads and to be compassionate with yourself while you're moving the downloads, the architectures through the body. And we've just with us 6 here at this time, we're just a small portion of the beings on this planet that are helping those people and ourselves with all these energies coming through and, integrating everything. It's a big work that we're all on in it, but it's scary, but it's also fun.
Love it.
Doable.
It is doable. It is doable. When we all find each other, it's, I'm not a big, like, find your tribe, not a catchphrase kind of person, but I don't know, maybe mine's going to be like, find your weavers, because this is, it's been a really great experience. When we open up to our potential, we hear each other's song. And it's like, I had, for instance, been hearing the word weavers for quite some time, and something about a wheel, and I heard singing, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh. And then it would get louder and louder when I would meet somebody, and I'm like, you, and you, and you, and you, and you. And I'm like, this is it. Like, we've got some stuff to do. And it's like, find those people where you can hear their song, and that's going to anchor in you. That's going to help anchor you in and help you connect into your entirety, into that oneness. And as each of these groups gather in and find each other, and we amplify each other's songs, and we understand that some of us are bass tones, some of us are resonance tones, some of us are overtones, some of us can play all the tones. And when we understand how this is, then we harmonize each other, and then we are able then to stabilize the harmonics coming into the planet, and then open up those fields of possibilities for others to continue to do the same. It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop with this, just because we're like whacking down some bushes doesn't mean those bushes are going to not try to grow back. And so we need to keep the momentum going, and keep everything until we're all the way into the other field. And then there's still always going to be that field. There's going to be a level of this reality, this perception. And if you want to, you can go ahead and go right back there. You can go right back down into those fields if you want to. But why? If you've already done your work, why bring that back into your field? So, it's kind of like, put your own mask on before, not that one, but, breathe your own oxygen first, your oxygen mask, before you go back down in there to help somebody else.
What you're talking about, like the way that I visualize it is like, because I'm pretty sure all of us, I know definitely me in dream state for the past several years, clearing out the collapsing old timelines. And it's like, if you picture the earth and it's ascending, the earth is ascending, and there's like all the lower layers below it, and we're trying to get up here, right? And like, as it moves up, these guys are getting collapsed so that we can expand on the top, right? Because like, what's really happening is that the earth is staying here and everything is shifting above and below it. That's interesting. That just came out. And, you're saying that the Baphomet fields are coming through. And I think it's because it's almost like to these upper layers so that they're not getting scrubbed out. Because in my dream state, the Baph fields have been like pretty clean, relatively. Like, you can still tell, like, it's still, you're like, I can see that there. But I've never seen it shine so bright and look so pretty. And so it's almost like they're, clawing their way, to see how long they can hold on for. But when these things come out, like, it's really crazy, because you have these thoughts or these really bizarre, they come out usually as thoughts, right? And you're like, that's not me thinking that. And you just have to sort of let it go, not engage with it. And to Mary's point about, kicking up some dirt, and how Kat was talking about that, detaching from, just whatever your reality is. I think it's a great way to practice creating your reality, to say, I'm not going to engage with anything, right? Whether it's like the negative narratives, or it's your own current reality that you've created. You're taking a moment to step into something completely new. And like, that is how you create a new reality. And when you do that for yourself, you do that for everyone. Because if you think about like what reality really is for us, it's what you're experiencing. And that's not to say we don't have compassion for what's going on for others. You know, we always hold compassion for suffering, but this is our approach of like, how do we create that peace, right, for others, so that others can have this, like that when you're building your own little piece of the puzzle.
We all bring color crayons to the picture.
Yeah, love it. Love what you were saying, Alex. And so, in that case, it's time for let's create something. You're talking about people hearing and feeling, and we're all here able to bring in bringing our love into all of this and out of all of this, and her and him and all of it, and the sound, it's the vibration, isn't it? And it will help if that's whatever intention we've got behind it will be felt and received or not received, or welcomed or not. So let's do something practical. This has all been practical, but I'm sorry, I just have to,
You have to bang your drum. Yes, we get bang away. Bang away.
But all of us.
Oh, you're killing me, Smalls.
all of us. We've got voices. We've got. You've got your rattle. Everybody's got something that they can bring to the table, as well as our beautiful selves.
What I would suggest, Mary, this is a beautiful idea, and what I would suggest we focus on is invoking, waking up the more of us, the more of the people on this particular mission, helping people hear the music just like we heard the music.
Yes, you're right. It will. It goes into the tapestry. It goes into the tapestry, and creates more. Just sitting here and the vibration coming out through the drum, through my voice, and I'm not touching it, but it's responding. It's responding because that's nature's way, isn't it?
It is nature's way, and this is what we do. There are so many people that sing and do music and create their sound chambers, and they sing their way through things. And for so long, I used to think, oh my gosh, I can't. How am I going to share that or express that? Or because I've always heard that I'm a sound chamber, but I've never heard that I am a singer, right? So, and I know Susan's sharing my love right here. So, so what I have seen and what I have been shown is that the words, and then in between the words, it doesn't have to be in a song format. And that's what's so beautiful about whether it be a piece of artwork, or whether it be the drum, or whether it be the gentle humming, or the vibration of what your intention through thought is. All of those things create the music. All of those things create that presence and create that shift. And I love Stefanie's idea, and this is what we're doing. We're collaborating our sounds, we're collaborating our harmonics to send out a wave of are you out there? Can you hear us? Come back home, kind
exactly. Of you're talking about weaving, then whatever we are putting out, we're weaving with whatever is out there, aren't we? With everybody else's sound.
Yes.
And I don't have to know where it is or what it is or why it is. I
And
just know that it is, and it's going to happen because that's the intention. And we wouldn't be here, and we wouldn't be talking about weaving, and we wouldn't be talking about sound, whatever the sound is, if it wasn't going to happen, if it wasn't intended to happen and rebuild and build, reshape the clay, absolutely.
yeah, and I feel like I know we had kind of a little bit of a discussion before we came on, but you know, these platforms like Facebook and YouTube being, you know, not of the highest consciousness vibration, but just being here, we are vibrating, and we're vibrating right into the foundation that is the consciousness of these platforms now, you know. So I feel like we're even doing that right now, you know, and as a group. I mean, I feel my tailbone, and I'm like, you know, just it intended even that I'm going right in to the foundational platform of the consciousness of this platform, and you know, we're vibrating out. Our song is going out, you know. So we're co-creating that right here in this moment to be disruptors, you know, to dissipate those constructs that are feeding the subconscious minds of people. So we're disrupting all of that. So when I came on, that was part of my intention. I was like, no, we're disrupting the chamber here.
It makes me think, Susan, when you say disrupting, it makes me think of that. If you've ever used a bowl, a singing bowl, there's this. It's not a dissonance, but it gets a bit rough. It gets a bit sharp sometimes, and it's like that. And then it will calm down, and then you'll find your level with it. It's like that. It's like the rattling.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
My goodness. Well, as we just are passively chatting, do you want to just start rapping, not rapping?
Yeah.
I don't know how to throw a rap, but or throw. I don't even know what I'm talking about. Alex, help me out here.
Wind down the meeting. Yeah, I think this is a good place.
Let's have a hum.
I think that's fantastic. I think we had a beautiful chat. I hope to do this again, and we do have more women that are in our regular group that are with us in spirit and really helping us anchor down these frequencies. And so also collectively reaching out to our divine masculine counterpieces as well. Because we cannot have one without the other. We just share our vibration with all. Reach them for their highest intention, their highest God self. For those who wish to receive, so shall they receive. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.